Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of Let's Build a Java Game Engine. Today, I think it'd be nice if we got away from these circles and squares that we've been drawing and actually move on to something a little more fancy. So let's get started. Alright, so today we're going to be learning how to actually load images into Java and how to use those images for things other than just like title screens and stuff. So we're going to be able to use images as a sprite sheet, and we're going to be able to change things based on what we're doing in the game. If you don't know what a sprite sheet is, this is an example of a sprite sheet. Now it looks like there's just some triangles here kind of semi-randomly placed, and there are some triangles here, but they're very specifically placed in this grid. So, every 64 pixels, we have a new square here. If you have Photoshop and you're unsure of how to do this, you can go to View, Show, Grid, or you can hit Control' to turn on or off. Now, by default, it's not this size, but you can go to Edit, Preferences, Grids, Guides, Grids, and Slices. And grid line every 64 pixels is what I chose, and I chose subdivisions of 64, so I can see every single pixel and draw based on that, whereas otherwise it would just be kind of hard. So, we're using this as our sprite sheet. If you don't understand how to make this, you can kind of Google sprite sheets, but basically these can be useful for things if you have multiple things that you need to use. For instance, if you have a character that is animated and he has a running sequence, you can have frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4. Instead, the alternative, I should say, is loading image frame 1 as its own image, loading frame 2 is its own image, 3 is its own image, 4 is its own image, and this can get really tedious if you have a long animation. And it doesn't have to be this square here. You can have just one long strip and just do a really long animation and just load it all from that one image. I believe it's a lot more efficient too, just loading one big image and divvying that up. So yeah, let's get into the coding part of it. But this is the sprite sheet that I've made and we're going to be using. So let's get to the code. Now, you might notice this little folder here. I'm not sure if you can, maybe if you have it in 1080p or whatever, but we have a res folder which contains that sprite sheet that I was just showing you in here. So you can make a new folder by going to your project, hitting right click, new, and go to source folder. Now you can name it res like I have, or whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. You can name it whatever. Just put your image in there and we will use it later. So we need a new class, and that class is going to be called Sprite Sheet because I am unoriginal or uncreative, depending on what you're thinking. Depending on the day, I guess. Alright, so let's full screen this. Now, this class is actually going to be a lot smaller than you might think. The code itself is only about 30 lines, and we only need 3 methods, well, 2 methods and a constructor, I suppose, and 3 variables, and that's it. So, we're going to get started with the constructor, the sprite sheet. Now, what things does a sprite sheet need? You need the image of this whole sprite sheet, and you need the size of each sprite. So, well, I'm actually going to have 2 constructors here, so it's going to be a little bit longer, but it'll be nice. So, they're both going to take a buffered image, sheet, or I, why not, and then int w, int h, width and height. And import buffered image, Control-Shift-O, and then we are doing the same thing, except here we're only going to take one. Yeah, we'll just use this one. It's easier that way. But if you wanted to, so like we're going to keep this one just in case. If you wanted to have like 20 by 10 per, you could do that, as long as it fits in properly. So what else do we need? We need a public buffered image. It's going to return a buffered image, and we're going to do get sheet. Just going to return a variable we're going to make in a second called sheet. Return sheet, and then up here, buffered image sheet. Sweet. So now we can also do public buffered image, and we're going to use get sprite. Right now, we're going to need a couple things here. We're going to need row and column of the sprite that we're going to need. So for now, we're going to return null, and we'll get back to that once we finish our constructor. So we're going to need two integers also, int width and height. Okay, and first thing here is width is equal to w and height equals h. Right, so now we're going to need a try and catch block. I don't know if do I need to catch? Because I'm not going to really do anything with it. Yeah. We're just going to print out the stack trace then. Section E dot print stack trace. But what we're trying is actually going to be super easy. When I first started with images at all, I always assumed loading images was going to be super hard, but it's actually a lot easier than you might think. All that we're going to do is go to sheet is equal to image io dot read new file, and there we go. And instead of buffered image here, I apologize, we need a string location, new file, and then in new file, just pass in location. There we go. So that's all you need to load an image. Yeah, so that's going to set up these three variables here, which will make this public just in case. And sheet doesn't need to be public. Yeah. So I don't know if I should allow accessing these directly. I'm not going to do anything wrong with it. If you wanted to, make it so that you couldn't change it by doing like a Sprite Sheet dot width is equal to or whatever. You can make these private or something, and just use get width, get height. But I'm lazy, so we won't do that. Now, get sprite, we're actually going to use a little bit of math here, but it's not going to be too bad. So, another try catch block. Try catch, and what we're catching is any exception. There we go. Any exception at all, and we're just going to do e dot print stack trace. All right, and we're going to either return. Actually, here, instead of print stack trace, we're going to just return null. There we go. There we go. So instead, we're going to return sheet.get sub image. And here's the little bit of math that we're actually going to do here, which is actually not bad at all, and you shouldn't worry about. It's column times height minus height. Now, that might sound weird at first, but I will explain it right now. So, if we put on our grid and put these into a folder for now and turn it off because I want clear to see here. So the rows are the Y position, so row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 7, row 8. Columns are 1, 2, column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so row 2, column 3 would be right here. So what we need to do, because the way Java works with images, is if we go up to the top left here, this pixel up the very top, there we go, this pixel here, that is 1, 1. 0, 0 being there's one up here that doesn't exist. Well, I guess this is 0, 0, but yeah, so 0, 0. This one here is 64, 64. So when we have, bring our code back up, when we have column times height, right? So if we say 1, column 1, that's this, right? So 1 times height, height being 64 in this case, 1 times 64 we get here. And then we're also doing the same with width too, width and height. So it's going to get down to here, so 64, 64. Because we need the top left of Java, we need to remove the height and the width to get back at 0, 0 or 1, 1. Now, whoops. Same thing for the second one. If we said column 2, row 1, right? So 64 down and then 128, I believe, right? It ends up here, right? We need to get back up to get to the 1 on the width or on the height here, and then go back 64 again to get up here, because this is the row that, or the box that we need to get to instead of this one. So I hope that that was a satisfactory example. If not, try and Google it or let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to help. But I hope that was okay. I hope you understood it. If not, you know, sorry. So row times width and minus width and width height. So that's all we need for that. That's our entire class there. 34 lines of code. 33 actually, but because I always get messed up on row and column, which is which, I'm going to actually add a piece of Javadoc here. There we go. And we're going to get rid of the return here. So if you don't know what Javadoc is, it's when you reference like buffered, and let's do, alright, so sheet dot get graphics, right? Returns specified by, all of this, that's Javadoc. Let's see here, something we're actually putting things in parameters. You'll see parameters, and then out raster, a writable raster, blah blah blah. It tells you what you need to know about that. So row is the Y position, is the Y, and column is the X. So yeah, now if we were to if we had a actual object used of Sprite Sheet, and we did object name dot get sprite, it would pop up this specifically. It would say parameters, row, this is the Y, column, this is the X. So we'll actually be able to remember. There we go. Actually go into main here. And now what we can do is we can actually do something with these sprites. So it's actually fairly easy, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. Now remember, I have all this control stuff here, and we have a character here. Remember, this is just our main class. None of this stuff is going to be here. Eventually, we're going to have separate things to reference that, like a entity manager or something like that, which is going to deal with everything. But for now, we have stuff in here. I really don't recommend keeping stuff in the main class, but rather keeping things separated and neat looking. So eventually, we're going to get rid of this stuff, but for now, it's all right to have it not there. So we're gonna have Sprite stuff up here. I don't know why I'm bothering commenting it, but that's all right. So Sprite Sheet is equal to new Sprite Sheets, and if you remember, we have 3 parameters we need here: a string, a width, and a height. Now, lucky for us, our width and height is both 64, and our string is what this takes is a location, the location of our sprite sheet, which is res sprite sheet. So all we have to do is type res /sprite _sheets.png, because that's what I wrote it as, .png. So now we've actually got it loaded into memory, and if I go down here and just remove our old character code and do g.drawImage and found image, this one down here where it's just image x, y, and observer, we can do sheet.getSheet, and then we can do it at 500, and our observer is the frame. So that's our sprite sheet. We're just going to do a little bit more with this for now. So we need a couple other variables. We're going to need buffered image, current sprite, and then we're going to need an array of images called sprites. Now, is equal to new buffered image, and we're going to need 4. 0, 1, 2, 3. 4. Yeah, that's 4. Alright. Now, in the init, we're going to need to do a for loop for int I equals 0. That's a little quicker. For buffered image I in sprites. Yeah, there we go. So sprites I is equal to, what is this? Okay, so it doesn't work in this instance. I apologize for that. I used the wrong for loop. I figured it'd be a little quicker this way, but it wasn't. Int I equals 0. I is not equal to 5 because we need to go through 4 or 4. I forget which it is. We'll see in a minute. And then I++. Now, sprites I, and this has to start at 1. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, that's what we're going to need. Yeah, is equal to sheet.getSprite, and row is y, so we always want y, and then column is going to be I. There we go. And that's what we're going to need. For init, we could do curSprite is equal to sprites 0. As a default kind of thing, it's going to be up by default. So 0 is up, 1 is down, 2 is left, and 3 is right. Now in update, we can set our curSprite. curSprite is equal to sprites. Now we're going right, So 0, 1, 2, 3, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. And left is 2, up is 0, and down is 1. Yes. So now we need a new place to draw our character. So we're going to be drawing cur sprite, and then we're going to be doing it at x minus sheet dot height divided by 2. But x is going to be width, actually. There we go. I apologize for the clickety-clack on my keyboard. Y minus, in brackets, sheet dot height divided by 2. So that should work. Almost. So we only have 3 working. And 5 did not fix anything. That's okay though. Alright, so 4. I mean to do on I minus 1. There we go. No. I had this wrong. Let me just move Photoshop over here really quickly. So 0 is up. Yes. 1 is down. 2 is left. And 3 is right. That. To the right is not working, so 3 is blank. Did we have the right idea with 5? Ah, we did. Okay, so now we actually have a working character, Sprite Sheets. Yes. It moves a little funny because it's not centered, but if we had like a circle with a face or something, it would work well. So we still have the click functionality, but that's okay. If we wanted to keep click functionality and just default to something, we could do for sprites is equal to sprites 0. There we go. Oh, wrong one. There we go. There we go. Good enough. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you actually fully understand how to use a Sprite Sheet now, and how to make one, and all of that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, or Google it. It's up to you. I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day.